My husband walked out after I had a panic attack. I'm alone with our baby. 31F and 34M. I'm a stay-at-home mom to our 10-month-old daughter. I moved away from my entire support system to be with my husband, who promised to provide and be an involved father. He was the one who wanted a baby. He was the one who said he wanted me home with her. We agreed before pregnancy that we'd share the load. I'd take care of most of the baby and house stuff since I'd be home, but I still expected help and support. That was the plan, and I've kept up my end. I keep our house clean and organized, do all the laundry for me and the baby, clean the kitchen while I cook, tidy up toys, feed her solids, nurse her, and change diapers every 2 hours. I take her to doctor appointments, music class, and make her bottles. I try to make extra dinner so he has food to take to work. She's happy, thriving, and loved. I may be tired, but I still show up for her every day. He works 8 to 4. But lately, he and his mom have started pushing this idea that he shouldn't have to lift a finger with the baby after work. They act like I should be doing everything alone, as if asking for help makes me a bad mom or wife. That's not what we agreed to. I don't expect 50-50. But I do expect to be treated like I matter too. Things between us have gotten tense. I've asked for counseling, but he always brushes it off. He says he can't talk to me because I get loud. I don't scream or get out of control, but I do get emotional and passionate when I feel ignored. I've been begging for communication and trying to fix things. The other night, I had a panic attack. I screamed into a pillow behind a closed door while the baby was in another room. I was overwhelmed and trying to cope silently. His response was to call me toxic, hand me our sleeping baby, and walk out. He said he was going to a friend's house, but the friend said he never showed. Then he ignored my calls, turned off his location, and I found out later he checked into a hotel. He still hasn't come back. No answers except that he refuses to be in the same house as me. Now he's saying I should fly home to my parents and leave the baby with him, so his mom can fly in and care for her. After everything I've done, he wants to take her from me? To make things worse, they're now trying to twist it and say I'm not doing a good job because I was on my phone too much during our recent family vacation. I was burned out. His family was there, so I finally had a minute to breathe. Meanwhile, he complains about giving her baths or doing bedtime. He plays video games while watching her. But I'm the bad mom because I scrolled on my phone while she was surrounded by family? I've never felt so discarded. I gave up everything to be here and raise this baby. I do everything and still get painted as the problem just for needing support. I'm financially stuck. I have no family here. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying and I don't deserve to be made to feel like I'm nothing. If you've been through anything like this, or have advice, please share. I just feel so alone. Update. I just want to clarify something that a few people were concerned about. I'm 1000% taking my baby with me. No matter how exhausted or broken down I feel, I could never leave her. She is my whole world and I've been her full-time caregiver since day one. We rent and while he's the main leaseholder, I poured just as much into this home. While I was pregnant I worked as a nanny and used that money to buy all of our daughter's furniture, toys, and baby gear. I also sold a lot of my own things to help furnish the house. Probably 80% of what's here is mine. I plan on flying back home Monday with my daughter and staying at my parents' house until we figure out the next step. He's going to have a conversation with me at some point. The hardest part is not knowing what happens after that. The car I've been driving is in his name, and without it I won't be able to get a job. My parents live in an area that isn't safe to walk or take public transportation, especially with a baby. I would hope we can work something out where I keep the car, but since he won't talk to me, I really don't know what to expect. Any advice from anyone who's been in a similar situation would mean a lot right now. Call your family, friends, and the rest of your support system for advice and help. Call a divorce, custody lawyer. Take evidence that he walked out of the house. Look at www.thehotline.org. Whatever you do, do not hand this child over to these people. They will categorically use that against you in the future. Knuckle down, knuckle in. Your rules of engagement have been changed mid-game and that's caught you off guard. But you know now, so you need to get your guard back up. Forget this guy. He's made himself an incidental. Focus on you and your daughter. Be the best mother you can muster. He wants the house clean? He or his mother can clean it. He wants dinner? He can figure out the oven. Bro stops getting service and I assure you something will give. Focus on the child. Everything else is a distant second. If you haven't done this already, try to talk to him in text messages to get him to acknowledge that he doesn't help with the child at all and has no interest in doing so. Like, maybe you say, I don't understand why I'm the only one taking care of her. Why don't you want to spend time with your child? And then maybe he responds, she's your job, I don't want to deal with that in my free time. Something like that. You want to get evidence that you're the only one doing the parenting. Then talk to a divorce lawyer. Dude, baby trapped you into being his maid. Mom is attached to the baby now. I would leave and take the baby. You have the legal right at this point. Get an attorney in your home state ASAP for a custody order. Take that baby and fly to family. Stay there until you figure out your next steps. But staying is not it, leaving baby with him is not it. At least with family, you may have some help. He isolated you, got you without a job, pregnant and now stuck at home with his child with little access to funds. This is textbook abuse. And now he is gearing up to paint you insane, lazy and negligent to the court. Document his negligence in a diary. Describe how he denies access to funds. Try to not be alone with him and his mother. You are in danger. Reach out to friends and family. Reach out to women's advocacy groups in your city. Do not hesitate to take any help you can get. He won't turn back to the facade he showed you to lure you in. Husband, 33M, insists baby should adjust to his schedule and I, 31F, don't. I'm, 31F, struggling with a recurring issue in our family dynamic. We come from different families and different beliefs, not religious. My husband, 33M, believes that our baby should adapt to his schedule, while I'm the type of parent who is willing to sacrifice and adjust my life around our baby's needs. We have an 11-month-old, and this clash has been happening since early on. Today, for example, we were invited to a joint late birthday celebration for my 4-year-old stepkid and his 2-year-old toddler friend. Nothing fancy. We brought food and drinks, they made food too. It was a lunch event around 12 p.m., extending into the early evening, which was ideal for us because our baby's bedtime is between 6-7 p.m., and the party was an hour away. But my husband decided to stay much later, no idea what time he'll come. They ordered a pizza at 9 p.m., so probably sometime after midnight. This has happened multiple times before. I end up taking a separate car because he doesn't want to leave early with us. His plan is always to let the baby sleep at the host's house, wake her up when it's time to go, drive an hour home, and then try to get her back to sleep. To me, this feels so disruptive for a baby, especially when she just got back into her routine after a long trip. We recently did a 10-hour drive going back for a holiday. None of his friends with kids do this. They all go home together and none has any baby. They have older kids so they can stay later at night. I feel like I'm the only one prioritizing our baby's needs, and it's isolating. Has anyone else experienced this kind of disconnect with their partner's parenting style? How do you find balance or get your partner to see the importance of consistency and routines for a baby? I'm looking to hear from parents who have disagreements about parenting approaches, not from people who fully agree with my husband's perspective. I already live with that. God help me to understand why women give these self-centered immature fucking jabronis the time of day. He views his parenting responsibilities as optional. That's the problem. He wants to party before he's a parent. It's not a parenting style, it's selfishness. Have you asked your pediatrician to weigh in? Mine was always very clear about the importance of a regular schedule, especially when it comes to sleep. Is your partner Latino? Because going to party and let your kids sleep in the party, it is so Latino. This is how my parents' generation would try to get us to sleep for a few hours in some random spare room or whatever, and then shout at us the next day because we were grumpy and tired. I've got a couple of friends who still parent with this philosophy and they too tend to end up paying the price the following day with grouchy unsettled kids. On the other hand though, I wouldn't mind taking my kid home while my partner stayed later, but I really like my own company and reading books and he's really fair and totally pulls his weight, so I wouldn't feel hard done by it. I guess it all depends on the couple. If your partner is the sort to be a piss taker and leave all the parenting to you and you never get the chance to have a late one or your own time, well, that just sucks. This feels selfish and bad parenting on his part. My girlfriend 27F expressed that going forward she doesn't want to give me 28M head. What's next? So this is a pretty ridiculous situation, so I'm coming here for advice. I 28M have been dating Kathy 27F for 6 months and honestly up until now things have been going pretty good. Kathy works as a paralegal and I work in aircraft maintenance. We met on Hinge 6 months ago and at first she wanted to wait a month and until we were exclusive, until we were intimate, and I was cool with that. Once we started being intimate things were good and I felt that as we got more comfortable with each other, the better things got. I always took time for foreplay and to warm her up before anyone asks. Dates have gone great and we mostly agree on life goals. I have tried suggesting some more exploratory things sexually, but she has shot them down and that's alright. The other day we were getting into it after I took her to the melting pot, and after going down on her I asked her to go down on me. She reluctantly refused. I, not wanting to make things awkward, just went on with it and we finished the encounter normally. I asked her what was up afterward, and she said that she thinks she doesn't really like giving head. I asked if it was my hygiene or anything. She said no, it's just that she doesn't really find it enjoyable and it hurts her throat. While I understand her reasoning, this is kinda a bummer for me since I like receiving it. I also don't particularly like giving it, but I do it to make my partner happy. This morning, we woke up and started going at it. She asked me to taste her, and I said that she had a point. I also don't like giving oral, so I think we should just not. She said I was punishing her for her preference. That led to a small fight this morning where no hanky ended up getting done lol. What would y'all do in this situation? I just want to know why the melting pot was important. Personally, if going down on her isn't something you like, you also shouldn't have to do it. When things cool down, have a talk. Tell her that y'all are both in the same boat and her deciding she didn't want to do it anymore opened your eyes to the real pre-existing fact that you also didn't want to do it. It will look like a punishment, yes. But the facts are that you also don't want to do it, and that's kinda that. To fully understand your situation, what kinds of aircraft are you working on? I'd respect her wishes and gently break it off. You're sexually incompatible and this will compound over time. You're both allowed to have boundaries. If she doesn't want to give oral, that is her choice to make. If that's a deal breaker for you, this is an incompatibility. If you both don't like giving head, then no one gets head. If everything else y'all do is fine, then there isn't a problem. But can you get her off without it? Also, technically, is deep throating a requirement for giving a BJ? You can offer her to only do what's comfortable. But if you need that, then NVM lol. I wouldn't want to get head anymore. Soon I realize the other person doesn't like to give it. It has to be enjoyed to be enjoyable. Ultimately, you might not be compatible long term unless you can figure out how to make sure you both finish without head. How can I, 38 female, make my fiancé, 41 male, understand that paying his life expenses is burning me out? We've been together 4 years. He's always struggled financially, and I have not. I've worked my ass off to be financially stable, and it's important to me that I stay that way. I encouraged him to find a stable job, and he did and was getting ahead financially. After more than a year of his financial stability, we decided to move in together and he proposed. Shortly after the proposal, he unexpectedly quit his job. I know he was burned out and the work environment wasn't great, but it was a steady income. It was a big shock to say the least, but I tried to be supportive since I knew he was stressed to the max, and that's what partners do. He told me he would find at least a side gig in the next few months while he worked on building his own business. That allayed my stress for the time being. It's been 5 months now and he still hasn't found anything to bring in income, but he is working on building a business. The business is not likely to bring in any income for at least several more months, and I'm not sure if it will at all because I haven't seen any progress. I do try to ask him about it, but he's still in the building phase and hasn't tried to find clients who will need the work he provides yet since he isn't ready. I think it's a good business idea, but I worry about the actual execution. Meanwhile, he has debts he is responsible for and has burned through his money. I have lent him some, and the payback date has come and went. He asked me to help cover his car payment and gas since he uses the car to help care for my kids. I told him I was uncomfortable with that and it turned into a multi-day argument. He's now asked me to cover his debts while he works on his business and frames it as me investing in him because we are building a partnership together. I get that, but the ask feels indefinite to me, and when I try to put an end date to it, conversations turn vague and I'm left feeling like I don't believe in him and I'm unwilling to support him. Maybe I am unwilling to support him this way financially, and that's why I'm feeling so burnt out. I want to be a supportive partner, but I feel like I'm possibly being taken advantage of. I can also see the side where, sometimes things are tough and partners have to support each other: sickness, health, rich, poor. You know, I'm having a hard time because he is able-bodied and capable of bringing in income. I haven't seen any urgency or work toward at least doing something interim while he tries to build up his company, and that's what I need to see. When I bring this up, he always says he's working on something for his business for a couple weeks until he can get to the next step, kind of like he doesn't have time for a side job. I guess I feel like having money to pay current expenses is more important immediately, and he should work on building his business on the side of that, rather than the other way around. I'm able to pay all of the expenses, but it's making me feel financially claustrophobic, if that makes sense. I have goals that I have to sideline since I have his extra expenses at the moment. When I tell him I'm at capacity and I can't cover his expenses, I somehow end up feeling like I'm unsupportive and don't believe in him, which isn't the case. I just want him to cover his own life. He tells me everything is always mine, or his, and we need to think of everything together. What's the line between being supportive and being taken advantage of? What's the line between able to bring in income and willing to bring in income? I feel like he sees my income as sufficient for our life, so we're fine, but honestly I'm overworked and overwhelmed and would like to have some breathing room where I could take a small step back at work. When I talk about this, he says he will just work until he's 90 then. It feels very unproductive. This will be your life. It wasn't a coincidence that he quit after he snagged you. It was planned. Thank goodness you see who he is before you wed and get pregnant. You would be much more financially responsible for his future than you are now. Stop paying for his things. He's an adult and needs to act like it. You can't make him understand because he doesn't care. Stop paying then and stop enabling his behavior. He's 41 and haven't figured out his shit. This will be your life. Sorry to hear. I had an ex-partner too who needed to move into my home because he was homeless. He could earn $500 a day but burned through his money. In 12 months he paid a water bill once and nothing towards food or staying in my home. He left, angry and bitter towards me, and found a new victim. I never gave him any money or financially supported him, but he stayed rent-free. Never again. Get him out of your house. You should move on. He's in full leech mode. That business is going nowhere fast. He adds little or nothing at this point.